Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to this video of Gaslighting, the movie. So I've been spending a fair amount of time on TikTok recently. I'm not proud of it. 90% of that time is just watching a wheel spin and create a superpowered character. Seriously, I cannot stop watching this wheel spin. But recently I've been put onto this weird part of TikTok involving a cult classic horror movie from the 80s that doesn't exist. I know that there's a lot of random stuff in this app that makes anybody who doesn't have the brain of an 8-year-old with an iPad be like, but why? But I've never been so bewildered by a concept as I was with this. Or more so, the willingness of random people and bigger TikTok stars to join in with this. So essentially this was all started by the user Emily Jeffrey, who first had this idea of just convincing people to pretend that this movie exists. They said, what if we created a fake 80s horror movie called Zepotha? And started commenting, oh my god, you look exactly like that one girl from Zepotha. Or, wait, you look exactly like blank from Zepotha. On every thirst trap we see, together we will witness new lore develop, main characters will emerge, etc. We can convince thousands of people that this weirdly titled 80s horror film actually exists. And this was actually just a well-disguised way of getting everybody to advertise her new song for her. Her song Do You Remember Me, which is pretty much the album of this movie. So by doing this, she was able to get thousands of people making videos with her song in it, and got loads of people talking about it very quickly. And to be honest, it's kinda genius. Tricking people into gaslighting other people about a fake horror movie in order to get free viral marketing is a very smart way of using TikTok and the abundance of people on there who will just do anything or just want to join a trend. And TikTok is honestly the perfect place to be doing something like this, because I swear the majority of stuff on TikTok is just super niche jokes or references to stuff with absolutely zero context, so the comments are always just full of people asking like what is actually happening. Like one of the things I've seen is people just commenting random numbers which apparently mean something. Like 304 apparently means a promiscuous woman or a sex worker, and 48 means you're single. Just why? It's pointless. So people have been saying that they actually grew up with this film and uploading stuff like this.
Who's Taylor Swift? Oh my god! Am I about to introduce you to Taylor Swift?
And one thing I actually hate about this is that because the film obviously just doesn't exist, people have just been taking clips from other horror films and expecting nobody to notice. Like stealing shots from Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or It or that one Friday the 13th movie that nobody watched. But I did. People are even pretending that there's a remake coming out in 2024, pretending that either they've been cast in it.
Finding out I got cast in the Zepotha remake.
I got it.
You got it? Baby!
Or just slapping whatever randomly selected celebrities they want and saying that they've been cast in it as well. People have made up names, random scenarios that happened in the movie. So welcome to my presentation of Zepotha, What I Think Happened by Morgan B. That's me. A presentation was the best and easiest way I could think of to show what my theory is on this. And obviously this isn't going to be what the actual story is. This is just my interpretation of the story from everything that I've found. No matter how I put this together, there's always going to be some other information that contradicts it. Believe me, I've tried to figure out a version with no contradictions, and it's impossible. A lot of this evidence is also in meme form, because of course it is. And if this movie was real, then you know these memes would actually exist, so it works as evidence. So before you come at me saying that this isn't true, or that isn't how the story goes, it's not real. What you say is true still isn't true, because there isn't an actual story. So first we need to understand who the characters are. And luckily there's a decent amount of evidence that shows us who they could be, which gets pretty messy because loads of random people on the internet can't keep their stories straight for some reason. I've seen the same accounts contradict themselves multiple times because they just shove in whatever random names they can. But there are a few reoccurring character names and personality types that appear. So I think that a good place to start here is the characters. We have Elaine, who is the main character. She's shy, sweet, and psychic. Her mother was killed by the Zepotha butcher and she has these psychic visions of it and everything. We have Maxine, who's jealous and assertive. Cole, relaxed, stoner, best friends with Danny. Rita, gentle, nervous, a school reporter and a queen bee type character. Nate, who's a jock, might be gay. There's some evidence pointing to that.
Able to think straight. Balls. Two guys holding hands. Dude.
But who knows? Who cares? He's also Rita's boyfriend and the #1 suspect. I'll explain that soon. Lydia, who's described as a goth and is going on a date with Danny. And Danny, an overconfident, manipulative person who had a previous relationship with Elaine, is schizophrenic, and definitely not the Zepotha Butcher. His dad was also the Zepotha Butcher and actually killed Elaine's mum. So with him being schizophrenic, I imagine it being his dad telling him to commit these murders. Kind of like Jason in Friday the 13th, where it's the spirit of his mother telling him to do stuff. So basically, all of these characters are incredibly generic, but it's supposed to be a cult classic 80s horror movie, so I'll let it slide. And here we have a list of scenes. There's a bunch of random stuff that point towards these scenes happening, so we're going to go through them one by one, weaving a story between them. And I'm sure that since this is a classic 80s horror film, all of these characters would have been introduced in a high school or something. I've seen no evidence suggesting this, but that probably would happen. So the first one I've put here is the video store scene, where there's some tones that Danny wants to be with Cole, but doesn't want to say anything because it's the 80s and being gay was bad. Which again kind of fits the 80s film aesthetic, because just look at Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's pretty gay. So Danny loves Cole, but he asks Lydia to go on a date with him to the forest where everybody's having a party. Then I think we have the tunnel scene, where the Zepotha Butcher kills Rita in the tunnel, and my theory behind this is because she was a school reporter, so I think she was starting to get close to figuring out the true identity of the Zepotha Butcher. Or it could just be because she was the Queen Bee character and it's just a generic cliche. But she was going through this tunnel as a shortcut to get to the woods, to get to the party, so it all makes sense. Then I think we see the party in the woods, where everybody's having a good time, whatever, but there's also some evidence saying that there's this random dude that just appears and joins the party out of nowhere, and I think that he's just a random red herring that they throw in there to make the audience suspect is a killer, making it more of a typical whodunit type of story. Then jumping ahead a bit, I think there is the rabbit scene, where Cole catches Danny killing and eating a live rabbit in the garden. So then Danny kills him by drowning him for not enjoying his cooking. I've had to change the names around on some of these TikToks to make it all make sense, because again, people were just throwing random names at the wall. And then Nate finds Cole's body and freezes up, allowing Danny to hang him until death.
Baby changing station. Baby hanging station.
And on the fandom wiki, it says that Cole was the person to reveal the identity of Danny, so by now, we just know that he's the killer, making that whole red herring thing quite short-lived. Then I think we have the bridge scene, where Maxine confesses her love for Elaine. I think it would go down as them almost about to kiss, but then Danny catches them and an argument starts. Danny is of course there because he's been following Elaine, because he's a crazy stalker man, and because they used to go out, he might still have some residual feelings there. But this argument ends in Maxine just having enough of it and leaving back to the cabin, and that's when Lydia arrives at the bridge. Obviously not happy with Danny still having feelings for Elaine, because like, you asked her there on a date, why are you still bothering with Elaine? And this argument will continue to grow until Danny eventually pushes Lydia off the bridge, in front of Elaine, because there's evidence saying that Elaine witnesses somebody being pushed off a bridge. And she then runs back to the cabin. So then Elaine arrives back at the cabin and tries to explain what she's seen to Lydia, but can't get her words out. Again, we've got evidence of this. Then I think they would try and leave, find the bodies of Cole and Nate, be all freaked out because that's scary, you know, it's your friends, they're all dead, that's bad, and then run off into the forest with Danny chasing them. And that's where it gets unclear. There's no evidence other than like people crawling on the floor as to what happens in the forest. There's no ending to this movie until now, because I just made one up. I've stuck to the whole it being a cliche and generic 80s horror film, but I've just put together my own ending for it. So my ending for this would be Maxine and Elaine team up together to fight Danny in order to kill him. So when they think he's dead, they then escape onto a road that they find through the forest as the sun is rising. So as the sun is rising and they're getting into this car and getting up to safety, the camera slowly pans back and away from them, panning back over to Danny's body, zooming in, his eyes twitch open, cut to black, roll credits. It's simple, it leaves it open for a sequel or a remake, and it's actually an ending. So we have something there. And before we move on from this whole presentation, I just want to show you, this was the mind map I had to create in order to understand what the frick happened in this. There was no other way of doing it. And as you can see here, there's this random little character down here called Robbie, who I think is in the first bit of this movie when they're all in the high school as this random comic relief character who is desperately trying to join the friend group, who apparently the fandom hates. Again, we've got evidence of this, that there's a random character that's musical that everybody hates. So just know that he's there as well. And I think that this is actually a very coherent theory as to what this film would actually look like. At least with all the evidence that I've been able to find on TikTok and the fandom wiki. Yes, I had to take liberty with names and switch them around, and they're all from memes, but I had to, because people were just putting in random names, and there were only memes and videos of people being like, well, I think this character would wear. That doesn't give me anything. So it needed to be done in order for it all to make sense. But come on. I managed to cobble together a movie out of random gaslighting videos from TikTok. You have to give me some credit for that. And another really weird thing that people decided to add to all this is that on one of the character profiles for Danny, because there's 2 different character profiles, I just went with the coolest one. But they said that there's some controversy because Danny earned $30,000 more than the other actors and got 13% of the movie's gross income, which is an insane deal. Harrison Ford got 1% of Star Wars and he's sorted for life. I just find the fact that somebody added this random and pointless controversy to the story around this movie, but it's hilariously stupid and pretty smart, because this sort of thing can make this a lot more believable. I've also seen a character profile that doesn't fit into any possible theory, and that is this character Aris, I don't know, who was clearly written by a 10-year-old since his species is emo. Commitment Issues is his last name, which makes him Aris Commitment Issues. He is known to divine the future with tarot cards and smoke from his cigarette. He is also able to steal life of other, limited telekinesis, cursing, so he's allowed to swear, destiny binding, pain infliction, and mind confusion. This random, insanely OP character makes no sense for this movie. He seems like the type of character that would appear in the 7th sequel when they all go to space, which old horror movies just love to do. But yeah, figuring out how this movie could work was actually a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And if you do, then I will make this movie in real life if you can raise the funds for it. Have a great day.